Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, from wherever in the world you're watching, and welcome to Microsoft Ignite 2021. I'm excited to be with you here today. My name is Prasid Arora, and I'm a program manager on the Azure Edge and Platform team, specifically the Windows Admin Center team. Over the next 30 minutes or so, I'm going to be sharing all that is new in Windows Admin Center. We have done a lot of work over the last 6 months since our last release, and I have a lot of content to cover here today. So I'll be moving fast. Let's get started. For folks that are new to Windows Admin Center or server management, I want to spend just 1 minute giving an overview of what Windows Admin Center is. Windows Admin Center is a browser-based remote server management tool designed to be a modern replacement of the in-box management tools like Server Manager and MMC. It's very lightweight. It installs and deploys in just a few minutes, providing you with one consistent interface across tools and experiences for you to manage your Windows Server infrastructure. It comes at no additional cost to you, and it's constantly growing. New features that we build are entirely user-driven, and we rely heavily on user feedback for new experiences. Lastly, Admin Center is Azure integrated. Not only does Admin Center make it easy to onboard to Azure, but also you can run Windows Admin Center in the Azure cloud. At its core, Windows Admin Center is designed to make server management easy. And today, at Ignite 2021, I'm very excited to announce that Windows Admin Center version 2110 is now generally available. We have brought in a ton of new features across our platform, bringing you our fastest and most secure version of Windows Admin Center ever. If you already have Windows Admin Center installed, your instances should automatically update over the next 2 weeks. And if this is the first time using Windows Admin Center, go to aka.ms/downloadwac to get the latest version today. Now, over the next 25 minutes or so, I'll highlight some of the awesome capabilities and features that are available in this release. As a team and as a product, our investments and improvements span across 4 core pillars. First is our core management tools. These are tools that are core to our basic server management tasks. Things like virtual machine management, viewing events or performance, changing firewall settings, and so on. It's what IT pros, need to properly and efficiently manage their servers. Next is our hyper-converged infrastructure deployment and management experiences. This has been more prominent lately with the general availability of Azure Stack HCI, bringing in simple deployment and management experiences for your clusters. Next is our hybrid investments. As I mentioned earlier, our cloud integration plays an important part in ensuring that you can not only easily manage your on-premises infrastructure, but also your Azure connected and cloud infrastructure. And our last pillar is our partner ecosystem. At the end of the day, Windows Admin Center is a platform that anyone can build on top of, including you. And we encourage and support all of our partners that build on top of Windows Admin Center. Bringing us to our base that supports every bit of investment and improvement that we make to our platform. Everything you see and use on Windows Admin Center is built on our platform, making it critical that we continue to invest and improve it. And as I talk through today, I'll start to fill up this slide, outlining all that is new in our 2110 release. Let's start off directly with our platform. Our biggest investment over the last 6 months has been an upgrade to Angular 11 from Angular 7. Now, I'm sure a lot of you are wondering, why this is important. Why should you care that we've spent all this time upgrading our platform to Angular 11? And it's because Angular is a core part of our platform. Our entire front-end UI is built on Angular. From our shell that hosts the core services and most of our UI components, our solutions like Server Manager or Cluster Manager, and on top of that, every single extension that you use for server management. And our front end then directly interacts with our back end, which is our gateway, as most of you might know it, which hosts our authorization structure, our PowerShell services, our gateway plugins, and a lot more. Angular plays a really important role in every single experience that you see. And with an upgrade to Angular 11, it brings in a ton of security and performance improvements. In fact, from our internal testing, we've found that the size of our packages has reduced by about 14% as a result of this upgrade. Angular 11 enabled tree shaking of our code, resulting in smaller and fewer packages, which resulted at the end in faster runtime. And of course, as a result of this upgrade, we've also released a new SDK that brings you our latest controls, improvements, accessibility fixes, and of course our latest version of Shell that has the Angular 11 upgrade. Check out our docs on how to upgrade to our extensions, or how to upgrade your extensions to our latest version of Angular. And if you wish to build a new extension on top of us, also check out our docs. Our SDK is publicly available and accessible. Anyone can go ahead and download it and start to build on top of it. Next, let's talk about our next kind of big platform investment, which is our support for other Azure services. Windows Admin Center is your bridge to the cloud. We've made it easy and intuitive for you to discover and easily onboard Azure services that bring value to your environment. From setting up Azure Arc to onboarding and discovering new services, our Azure Hybrid Center is your place for setting up your Azure Hybrid journey. And starting this release, Windows Admin Center will support onboarding to the supported Azure Hybrid services in the Azure Cloud and the Azure US Government Cloud. The setup and the UI will be exactly the same, just a new drop-down for selecting a new cloud. Now that's all we have for our platform that I have time for today, but we've brought in a ton of other improvements from accessibility to CRUD SSP, so check out our release notes to learn more. Next, let's talk about our core management tools. With the general availability of Windows Server 2022 and Azure Stack HCI 21H2, this version of Windows Admin Center now officially supports installing on and managing these operating systems. With Windows Admin Center entirely built on top of PowerShell, Admin Center just continues to work on new operating systems and pre-releases versions of Windows Server and Azure Stack HCI as they get released. Next, let's talk about our most popular workload that is deployed on top of Windows Server and Azure Stack HCI, virtual machines. The virtual machine tool in Windows Admin Center is our most used tool, and we're continuously working and committed to improving the experience and introducing new features. This release works towards addressing some of the most prominent feedback we've received about this tool: performance. This release completely refactored the backend of the virtual machine tool, focusing on bringing you the information that you need as fast as possible. Based on internal testing, we're noticing that our test case of 500 virtual machines on a 4-node Azure Stack HCI cluster is loading over 2 times faster than it used to, a decrease from 20 seconds all the way down to 8 seconds. And we know 8 seconds isn't ideal either, and this is really just a start. We're consistently investing here to make this better and even faster. And as we release new versions of Admin Center, you'll notice that we are committed to investing and improving the performance of this tool. We're also invested in actually improving the performance of the experience of this tool overall, introducing new features and settings that actually bring value to your infrastructure, making virtual machine management easier and more specific, and really trying to meet where Hyper-V Manager is at, and not only that, but actually going far beyond what it currently does. Amongst other things, you're now able to right-click to actually perform actions on your virtual machines. A simple yet powerful capability when you're managing hundreds of virtual machines on a cluster. And you can create or edit a custom virtual hard disk when adding VHDs to your VMs. And really so much more than that. The virtual machine tool continues to grow and improve, and will continue to do so in the future. Next, let's talk about security. Security threats are constant and costly. I mean, the slide that I have here just gets out of date so quickly, as there are so many security threats. Security threats are unfortunately a constant issue for everyone in the industry. Whether you're a customer using a technology, or helping to maintain infrastructure, or certainly us as Microsoft as builders of the technology that customers use. It's a huge pain point, and there are so many different examples of these attacks. There's unfortunately a new one being reported, practically every day. These security threats are real and costly. Given how the landscape is expanding for computing in the cloud, in the edge, AI, machine learning, and other workloads, the value of security is increasing in the ecosystem. There's also been a surge in the number of ransomware attacks, with the ransomware attack expected every 11 seconds. The total cost of these damages expected in 2021 is going to be about $20 billion. And so with the introduction of Secured Core Server, it aims to reduce the possibility of such attacks. Secured Core Servers are built around 3 distinct security pillars. First, protect the device with hardware root of trust, defend the device against firmware level attack, and prevent unified code from accessing and running on the system. And given the importance of security in this day and age, Windows Admin Center has built a new security tool for servers and clusters that is available inbuilt in our 2110 release. So whether you're managing an Azure Stack ACI cluster, just single server, Windows server, you'll be able to use this security tool to actually look at the security status of your clusters or server. So from within this tool, you can view the secured core status of your servers or clusters, along with some very specific server and cluster related security settings. And really, these experiences are just the beginning. We have so much more planned for this tool, really making viewing the security status of your servers and clusters a simple and intuitive task. Now that's all I had the time for our core management tools. Of course, once again, take a look at our release notes and learn all the awesome new things that we're adding to this, to our core management tools. Next, let's talk about our Azure Stack ACI management and deployment experiences. Of course, let's focusing on Azure Stack ACI. With the general availability of Azure Stack ACI 21H2 feature update, Windows Admin Center introduces an all-new way of updating your cluster over the air using our enhanced update tool. This tool features smart pre-checks, cross-stack validation, and a one-stop shop for you to update your clusters to the latest version of Azure Stack HCI feature update. It also introduces a much improved feature tab for you to view all of the updates that have been made across every single node in your cluster. And of course, with the introduction of Azure Stack HCI 21H2, there are a ton of new features and capabilities being introduced to the HCI platform itself. And of course, Windows Admin Center is your UI for taking advantage of these features. Let's start with networking. We've heard your feedback surrounding the difficulty and issues with the current flow, and we wanted to ensure that this experience becomes easier over time. And this is the introduction of our intent-based approach to host networking. The deployment and network configuration management for HCI clusters have just become significantly easier. We built an intuitive, easy-to-use UI in just 3 steps in Windows Admin Center to completely define your network configuration for your cluster as you're deploying the cluster in our wizard. Our intent-based approach to networking, also known as Network ATC, not only reduces the time of and simplifies the networking deployment, but also deploys with the latest Microsoft validated and supported best practices, really ensuring that the configuration consistency across your cluster remains, eliminating any configuration drift. You can learn more at aka.ms/networkatc. Up next is GPU management. Azure Stack HCI 21H2 introduces an all-new feature allowing you to DDA assign your GPUs to highly available virtual machines. This means that virtual machines that now have a GPU assigned to them can actually migrate between nodes of your cluster in the event a failover is needed. And of course, Windows Admin Center is the UI for GPU management with the introduction of a cluster GPU tool. Here, you can get more information about the GPUs that exist on your cluster. In this case, I'm connected to a 2-node cluster built on the Lenovo LSE350 machine. And each node in this cluster has one assignable GPU, an NVIDIA Tesla T4. I can use this page to view the GPUs across every single node of my cluster, along with performing host-level operations on each GPUs. Things like enabling, disabling, mounting, dismounting, and of course actually viewing the assignment status of this GPU. And then high availability of GPUs themselves are achieved with the concept of GPU pools, which is a collection of one or more GPUs. GPU pools of the same name across every node or cluster is what allows for seamless migration. With the new Windows Admin Center tool actually now available in our extension feed, you can easily create GPU pools and start assigning them to virtual machines in just a few very simple clicks. Now, lastly, the time for that we have here today for Azure Stack ACI is Azure Kubernetes service on Azure Stack ACI. Now, we know Kubernetes is also a really important workload that is deployed on ACI. And Windows Admin Center, along with the Azure Kubernetes service team, has been working consistently over the last many months to improve the experience and bring in new features. There's been consistently monthly releases of both Windows Admin Center and the platform. And so coming up in the new releases of Admin Center, it brings in support for node pools, bringing in support for ring support, support for configuring proxies, and a lot more. And that's all I have to actually show you as demos here for Azure Stack ACI and AKS ACI management in Windows Admin Center. But I really want to note that there's so many more awesome features in Azure Stack ACI 21H2 and Windows Admin Center that I could not cover here today. New features such as automatic VM activation, allowing you to easily activate all of your Windows Server guests by simply activating your host. Or things like thin provisioning that gives you flexible capacity management of your cluster. So check out the release notes, not only the Windows Admin Center release notes, but of course the Azure Stack ACI release notes to learn more. Our next pillar is build for hybrid, and this is one I'm actually particularly passionate about. Over the last few years, Windows Admin Center has provided a simple, intuitive UI for you to onboard your on-premises servers and clusters to various Azure hybrid services. And we continue to provide that UI for you to do so. And earlier this year, we actually expanded this to bring you the native UI of Windows Admin Center to manage your Azure IaaS infrastructure running natively in the cloud. And really, growth and usage of Windows Admin Center in Azure has been huge and really is steadily growing as more and more users are starting to use Windows Admin Center in Azure to start to manage their Azure IaaS infrastructure. And really, we've actually gotten a lot of questions from customers as to how this is actually working in the back end. Customers have been deploying Windows Admin Center on premises for so long, and thinking about how this works in Azure has been a new and interesting concept. And we've actually spent more than a year trying to figure out how this would work seamlessly in the Azure portal. So here I'm actually going to give you an overview of how this actually works when you're deploying Windows Admin Center in Azure. So here I have a setup. On the left, there's me. I'm the user. I'm accessing in the browser the Azure portal. And of course, within my subscription, I've deployed an Azure IaaS virtual machine. And just like any other IaaS VM, there is the traditional Azure VM agent that's running on my IaaS VM itself. Now on my VM, using the traditional Azure VM extension pipeline, Windows Admin Center is actually deployed on your VM itself. You can think of this really as like an agent, just like the monitoring agent when using Azure Monitor, there is the Windows Admin Center agent. During deployment, Windows Admin Center talks to a backend service that provisions a unique Microsoft-signed TLS certificate and DNS record for each of your virtual machines. This backend service is also in charge of renewing your certificate and DNS records throughout the year. Of course, this communication is an outbound communication from your virtual machine to our backend service. And so just like many other Azure services, this is actually controlled by you via this integration that we have with Service Tag. And so you actually control this outbound access. So now me as the customer, as I go into the Azure portal and I want to connect to Windows Admin Center, I can now connect to Windows Admin Center from Azure as long as I have line of sight from the Azure portal to my VM, either through a public IP address, a VPN, or ExpressRoute. You can now securely connect to your instance of Windows Admin Center that's running on your virtual machine, all with TLS validation. And so over the last 6 months, we've really been focusing on improving the reliability and the performance and error handling of the entire experience, including this backend service that we've deployed. We've also brought in support for Windows Server 2022. We've integrated with Azure Auto Manage, and really just continued to improve the overall experience of using Windows Admin Center in Azure. So for example, if you've now set up Azure Auto Manage to deploy best practices on your IaaS infrastructure, Windows Admin Center will be deployed to actually make just the management of your VMs easy. You don't actually have to go and set up Admin Center anymore. It will just be part of the auto-managed deployment. And this brings me to my last pillar, our partner ecosystem. After all, Windows Admin Center is a platform, and I think I've emphasized that enough. And we have many crucial partners that build hardware and OS management extensions on top of our platform to ensure that all of our customers have one singular place for complete server management. And all our partners continue to invest and improve our experience by building extensions and releasing updates and new features to already existing extensions. And so with the update to Angular 11, if you have built an extension on top of Windows Admin Center, whether it's available in our public feed or if you built one privately within your own company, all extensions must be updated to the latest SDK to stay supported on Windows Admin Center. This means if you've built an extension that is used internally, as I mentioned, or publicly available, they must be updated to our latest SDK. Our current platform, version 2110, will continue to remain backwards compatible, at least until our next release, about 6 months from now. And we actually have extensive documentation already to help you upgrade. We have some automated upgrade steps and then some manual ones that you can perform. And of course, if you're new to building extension on top of Admin Center, please visit our documentation at aka.ms/extendwac to actually build on top of us and use this new SDK to build. Well, that was a lot of information, and I've covered everything that's at least that I could cover in this time period for everything that's new in version 2110. Please download our latest version at aka.ms/downloadwac, or if you've already installed it, you can navigate to settings to automatically update now. And as you can see, Windows Admin Center team has really been hard at work bringing you new experiences to make on-premises and cloud server management easier. We've been thinking about the future too, though. As a team, we have this longer-term aspiration of where we want our platform to go and our product to go. And I actually wanted to give you a little bit of a sneak peek of what is coming up in Windows Admin Center vNext. We've gotten, a ton of feedback through our, used to be user voice, GitHub, email, Twitter. We really hear all of the feedback that our customers are giving, and we try to really focus on the ones that'll actually make the biggest impact. And so I want to share two kind of sneak peeks into the future of what's coming up in our next release of Windows Admin Center, and things actually you might be able to try even right now in our current release, just maybe hidden behind some keys. I'll start off with our multi-resource dashboard. One of our oldest and highest rated user voice requests going all the way back to 2017, when we were still called Project Honolulu, is to have a consolidated view of your servers and clusters. With users expanding their set of managed resources on Windows Admin Center to hundreds and sometimes even thousands of servers and clusters, these individual tabs having to be opened for each server has started to become customary, and we just don't have the time to do so. That's an accumulated view that would give you an overview of the status of a set of servers in a single pane, really eliminating the view for you to drill down into every single individual server to check on the health of an administrator's environment, was really what we're aiming to create here by trying to address this user voice feedback with a multi-resource dashboard. And that's the direction we're headed towards. Right on the landing page of Windows Admin Center, we're introducing a new dashboard tab for you to get an overview of all of the servers and clusters that you have added to Windows Admin Center. And this is really not a mock-up, by the way. This is a real screenshot that I took from my on-premises version of Windows Admin Center. You can see critical alerts, CPU, memory, disk usage, and a lot more all in one single view of this dashboard. We're actually actively working to build this, and we actually have a pre-release V1 version for all of you to try at this very moment, available in this version 2110 release that we're announcing today. And we're still working to build on and improve the experience. We've put this actually currently behind an experiment key. Check out our release notes if you don't know how to add an experiment key. But once you add the experiment key, you'll actually see that exact same screenshot and UI that I just showed you right here. And you'll be able to navigate to the dashboard tab and actually start to use this new UI that we have here for your dashboard. Please note, we're still working on this. This is a pre-release feature, and we're mostly looking for feedback here on how we can actually improve this as we think about trying to support this in production. Our second sneak peek, and I left this for the end as it's one of my favorite. is an integration of Windows Admin Center and Azure Arc. That is, you can now use Windows Admin Center in Azure, and it's going to be powered by Azure Arc for you to now manage your on-premises Arc-connected machines natively from the Azure portal. This means you get this entire set of server management toolset that Windows Admin Center has built over 3 or 5 years, once again natively in the Azure portal as I showed you earlier for our IaaS VMs, but instead to manage your on-premises Windows Server and Azure Stack HCI clusters, all in the Azure portal, and the biggest difference being all without VPN. There's no need to set up a public IP address, no need to set up a VPN, no need to establish line of sight. Windows Admin Center will communicate with the Arc agent that's already deployed on your infrastructure to actually establish connectivity from the Azure portal to your on-premises infrastructure. I want to be clear, this is very much in like the design ideation phases here at Microsoft, and we're hoping that we'll have this available in preview sometime in 2022. And we really wanted to actually just show the direction that we're trying to head here with Windows Admin Center and Azure Arc together as one tight integration. Now, I know that was a lot of information in a very short period of time. If you stuck around here till the end, there's a lot that you can see here in our What's New slide that's in version 21.10, sneak peeks about what's coming in the future. And we're hoping to emphasize that, Windows Admin Center is building a lot, and there's going to be a lot that's going to be coming here in our next release, and our release after that, and our release after that, and our release for many, many years to come as we improve Windows Admin Center. If you stuck around, thank you. If you have instances running a Windows Admin Center already version 2103 or higher, it will automatically update within the next 2 weeks. If you're running Windows Admin Center in Azure, it will also automatically update here within the next 2 weeks. If you've never used Windows Admin Center in Azure, deploy it on your Azure IaaS infrastructure. We've made a ton of improvements, and we're actually going to continue to do so here over the next many years. And as always, continue to talk to us, give us feedback. Most things we build are built on your feedback on GitHub, on Twitter, by email. We love to actually hear from you, our partners, and really actually build on top of us. Our platform is really important to how our customers interact with Windows Admin Center. Build, extensions within your own private company. Build extensions that you can contact us to make publicly available. If you think there's an experience missing in Windows Admin Center, you're welcome to build it, and we're more than happy to actually work with you to have this available for all our customers. And really, thank you so much for choosing Windows Admin Center. Thank you for choosing Microsoft and Microsoft Azure. And we hope you have a wonderful rest of Microsoft Ignite. Thank you.